A writer for the New York Times is asking if it's time to stop shunning people who have opposing views. He writes that snubbing someone can motivate, snubbing can motivate someone to mend their ways, but allowing our differences to mean everything is how we ended up in this deep divide. So is it ever a good idea to shun someone because of their way of thinking?
I don't know. Like, this is a really, really hard one. You want to say no, like, no, you don't want to shun somebody, but I think you also have to draw some hard lines for yourself in the sand. Yeah. And why? Because it's your own personal peace, it's your own mental health you have to take care of. And I think if you're going through it, I think you have to protect yourself, quite frankly. And I went through this. Somebody who was my best friend growing up my entire life, we met in kindergarten. And, you know, we went through this whole thing called life together, similar background, immigrant parents, you know, we went to school together our whole lives. And she moved away. And when she was away, I think we definitely started to diverge in how we were thinking. I might have started going one direction politically, she might have started going the other direction politically, and it was culminating. And the more conspiracy theories she was believing, the more sort of pro-gun, pro-life, anti-abortion, anti-vaccine, anti-establishment, it just built. And I said, how much can I give of myself to this relationship now? And it gets to a point where I had to say, that's enough. And the enough, she actually pushed me to it. We were in a public place with a ton of friends, and there was a huge confrontation, and I realized there's nothing more I can say or do to bring her back. It's over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's over.
How do you handle it, Jules? How do you handle it?
Well, for me, it's interesting because I could clearly understand now that there's a difference between relatives and family.
Wow.
And and I, you know, especially this journey to becoming a wife and understanding that no matter how much I do for my relatives, and I'm happy to say this, they're gonna see this and probably shun me even more. You know, what came to me is people don't want what you could offer them, they want what you have. And a lot of times what you have is your joy, right? I have to tell a family member just today, I'm not gonna let you take the J out of my joy. Flat out.
Jules.
Right? So the boundaries, to your point, like we get this one thing called life, right? And all of a sudden people's memberships that should expire is having lifelong memberships to my lovely life that I took time to build, do therapy, grieve, heal. And just because we share a last name, just because, no, hail to the na-na-na. Hail to the na-na-na. So what I've decided to do is that I'm not moving through life saying, you're cut off, you're cut off, you see my face? Energy, right? No, no, no. Yeah. I simply reposition myself. Okay. But my mom used to be like, back in the day when I used to knock on my friend's door, right? I'm gonna go call on this person, call on that person, right? And my mom, as a little girl, that just came back to me now, and she'd say, wait and see if they wanna come knock on your door and play. And that came back to me recently over this journey to getting married. I was like, I'm reaching out. Let me just sit on my hands for a second.
Who's coming to my door?
Who's coming to my door?
Yeah. I hear everything you're saying, and these are really great points. I think we do need boundaries around people who are also like are vampires of our energy, or toxic, all that. And yet I can't help but think that the more that we push people out, the more radicalized they potentially become, and then they end up in their own. No, I get it. You're not saying you're pushing out, but let's agree on this: that we can see that we've become a society where it's like if you don't maybe this is more of an online thing, but it feels more and more like people who have a certain belief system. They are in their own echo chambers, and they're surrounded by people who are believing the same things. And then the other people on the other side, and no conversations, no meeting points are taking place. And I just worry as a society, obviously it's different with family members and close people, but just in general, if we're like, okay, unless you believe in this laundry list of things that are exactly what I believe in, that I won't have any conversation. I won't, because I think where those beautiful places happen, I don't know if this has happened to you before, is when you're talking to somebody who is on an opposite side of you, and you're sharing a story, and you realize that you meet somewhere, or that somehow something you said actually illuminated like part of their bigotry or part of their ignorance. And even if they won't admit it in that moment, you know they went away and they thought about it, and perhaps you planted a seed of change.
Well, you know, it's so funny you say that, because I had that beautiful experience. When I was working at News Channel, I was working on the early morning shift, and there were a crew of us. There was an older white man who was over 60, and he was a Trump supporter. Had another guy who was American who had very conservative parents who he no longer spoke to because they were not aligned. Then I also had a young woman who was in her early 30s. She just moved here from Egypt. She was an immigrant, and she was also Muslim. And then I had a first-generation guy who was raised Jewish, married to a Christian woman. And we had the best conversations every single morning. That's why I talk about them with so much affection. We did not all agree. We all came from different places, but there was a respect And we were able to sit down and be like, explain to me why your parents feel this way, and do you think you'll ever speak to your parents again based on this? And it was just a safe space, and I wish we could all have that, but it's such a politically divisive time that I feel like that train has left the station. We're not all able to do that. But if you have that chance to sit across from somebody who's not aligned with you politically, open your ears, open your heart, open your mind, and have that conversation. It's not as scary as you think. It actually is quite enlightening. And I want to thank those wonderful people. They know who they are, for allowing me that space and allowing me to be curious and ask them questions without being offended. Because I think a lot of us are afraid to ask. You don't want to offend. You don't want them to go, well, why are you asking me that question? Right. That wasn't in that group. So it was a wonderful experience. And I wish we could do more.
Safe space.
Wish we could do more of that.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.